Billionaires from Google, Hyatt Hotels, and venture capital firms have all been hit with subpoenas as part of a lawsuit looking at how J.P. Morgan helped Jeffrey Epstein for years and years commit pedophilia. Ring of Fire's Farron Cousins joins me to talk about that. Farron, as I look at, anytime I see subpoenas, I look at the idea the names had to come from somewhere. They didn't just pull these names out of the hat and say, hey, let's go after these people, right?
Yeah, so this is a very weird lawsuit, I guess, happening. The Virgin Islands is saying that J.P. Morgan, obviously, you're essentially laundering money, to kind of boil it down to its basic, for Jeffrey Epstein. That's how he was able to pay for these women. That's how he was able to escape scrutiny. You cooked the books almost to make sure this guy wasn't caught. So as part of that investigation, the lawyers have now said, wait a minute, suddenly we need to talk to an executive from Google. We got to go to Hyatt Hotels. We've got to go to the real estate folks. We got to go to the venture capitals. So those names, and we'll
put them up there.
Bren, Pritzker, Zuckerman, Ovitz. Obviously, there was something in J.P. Morgan's files because they have not released. It's still under seal. What the subpoenas are in reference to.
They have been holding these files too long. Okay, these files need to be made public.
Yeah.
And the only shot we have at this point is this very courageous AG in the U.S. Virgin Islands that's saying, look, if you think that this is just some old crazy cat that went to the island and had sex with trafficked girls, you're wrong. It was a network. Everybody knew about the network. Everybody talked about the network. Everybody wanted to be part of the network. The banks were actually helping empower him to have this network.
Yeah, and one of the things that J.P. Morgan is accused of is, in addition to letting Epstein have free reign with the money, the CEO at the time was also good friends with him, but they say that Epstein, in return, would send wealthy clients over to J.P. Morgan. So a possibility is that these individuals named are some of the clients who Jeffrey Epstein said, hey, why don't you go and invest your money with J.P. Morgan? Which only then raises the questions, why were y'all already friends with Jeffrey Epstein?
Exactly.
And when did you have these conversations on the island? Did you have them on the Lolita Express?
Well, the argument is going to be that Jeffrey Epstein drew these people to J.P. Morgan, that they were big investors, that was a quid pro quo. I think we just seen the beginning of this, but we're not going to know until the government does what they should do. That's release this information. Let's take a look at it.
Yep.
The Pentagon has restarted their propaganda department, and it's not hyperbole. It's a propaganda department. Last year, the federal government ramped up their production of pro-USA propaganda in the United States and abroad. God, we've done this story. Weren't we one of the hit elements on this propaganda? What was the woman's name? Spalding?
Yeah, Spalding.
Okay,
Suzanne Spalding.
So we were criticized because we were doing stories. We were doing stories that they thought were un-American because we were critical. I was critical of judges. I was critical because judges had been arrested for what was the thing in Philadelphia where they were the pay to play.
Kids for cash thing.
Yeah, I was critical of that. I was critical of some judges in other settings. So this Susan Spalding, whatever her name is, who is nothing more, she comes up through the spook industry. She was with the CIA. Yeah. She worked cyber CIA. And all of a sudden, she's criticizing me in public. She's criticizing what we're doing in public, saying it's un-American, by God. These guys they're not towing the propaganda line. So now we see it's emerging again, isn't it?
It is. The Pentagon, like you said, last year, they restarted this program that is, they're now calling it, we're just trying to influence, right? Like you have the social media influencers. So the Pentagon says, well, hey, we can be influencers domestically and overseas. So The Intercept, Ken Klippenstein did a wonderful job on
By the way,
this.
let me shout out to this guy.
Ken
Klippenstein and Lee Fong are brilliant.
Yeah.
Great reporters. He did a great job here.
He always does. And he points out, after World War II, we had the Smith-Mundt Act. And what that said was, listen, the Pentagon, you are forbidden from engaging in propaganda domestically. So a couple years ago, lawmakers finally said, you know what, we've already been doing it, so why don't we go ahead, we're going to pass the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act.
Yeah.
And what it said was, okay, Pentagon, you are completely allowed to spread domestic pro-U.S.
Right,
propaganda.
right.
And that's what they restarted with this office.
If we want this president, we're going to put propaganda out there to hurt the other guy, like they're doing right now with Bobby Kennedy. Hell, Bobby Kennedy can't even get a chance to debate, whether you agree with him or not. You ought to let Williams and Kennedy debate Biden. But right now you got the propaganda machine saying, oh, no, he just, he doesn't deserve the debate. It's part of domestic propaganda.
Yeah.
And domestic propaganda is really dangerous. I want to read you, they were asked, what does this mean? Now, this is word salad. This is how crazy this is. They was asked, what is the IPMO? What does it do? What's the scope? Well, here's a quote. It will develop broad thematic influence, guidance, and suspect focused on key adversaries, somewhat promulgated on competitive influence strategies focused on specific defense issues, with direct subordinate planning efforts for the conduct of influence-related sub-activities and fill existing gaps in policy, oversight, governance, integration related to influence and perception management. Hell, it sounds like Kamala Harris. It sounds like Kamala Harris wrote the damn thing. That's word salad. Somebody trying to say, what does this mean? Did you get anything out of that?
Just those last two words, perception management.
Yeah.
Because that's what they're
That's
after,
what it is.
not
Yeah.
just here in the U.S., but even abroad. The Intercept got a hold of a memo from last year where the Pentagon actually laid out, to their private folks, how this works. And it basically says, all right, listen, country A wants something from country B, but, country C doesn't want country B to have it. So what we do is we go out there and we say, hey, listen, country C, country B, they're not so bad. We're going to push these news stories. We're going to, even if it's fake, it says, even if it's fake.
I was just going to add, they don't differentiate. It's okay to do it if it's fake. Your point is this, perception management equals propaganda.
Yeah.
Okay, now what if? What if you have, now this is run by the Pentagon and the White House, so obviously, it all ties together. So all of a sudden, you have a candidate running for president who is against the Ukraine war, okay? Get the hell out of Ukraine. You got somebody who says we're spending too much on military. We got to cut back on military. You got these cats that have the ability to create domestic propaganda. What do you think they're going to do with that?
Well, I think a lot of it, even more powerful than domestically, is running those types of stories over in Ukraine. Like, hey, listen, here's this guy running for president over here in the U.S. He doesn't like what we're doing for you guys. He doesn't like that we're helping you.
Good point.
What do you think of that? Hey, Saudi Arabia, here's this person running for president that thinks we shouldn't be giving you all these weapons.
Yeah.
So that is where this really becomes so disturbing, because they can shape U.S. influence by acting with their foreign counterparts, because the foreign counterparts, as we know, are also running propaganda here in the U.S.
Right. I mean, look, you may or not agree with this. I'm 100% sure of it. We saw that happen with the Russia story. A non-story became a story. It was driven by domestic propaganda. Now, when you have that domestic propaganda that's looking at candidates and they're saying, this candidate really is not on our side. He doesn't want more missile spending. He doesn't want us involved in Ukraine. He doesn't want us involved in South America or Africa. You know what? They're going to go after that guy. And it's going to be the fake news that they say is completely all right. The story can be fake according to them. That is the reality we're working on. It's 1984 on steroids, my friend.